Hi, I'm Bruce Bell, and I'm in the Boo Club.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Battle of Ontario Hockey Podcast, featuring a Senators fan and a Leafs fan. We're here to talk about your two favorite teams, the rest of the NHL, local hockey, hockey all around the world, and to bring back memories from your favorite hockey teams and players. If you love the Leafs, Sens, B-Sens, NHL, or any other hockey, including the late Belleville Bulls, you are going to want to tune into our podcast. The gloves are off, the buckets are spinning, let's get the chirps flying. Welcome to the Boo Club!
Ladies and gentlemen, this man has been involved in the Belleville sports community for over 30 years. Gordie Bell is his dad, who was an NHL goalie for the New York Rangers and Toronto Maple Leafs. He was also the starting goalie for the 1959 world champion Belleville McFarlands. This man has been covering sports in the community for many years, including the Wellington Dukes and Belleville Bulls, and still writes today for the local papers. He's an avid golfer who seems to be golfing all around the world from some of the photos I've seen. Ladies and gentlemen, Bruce Bell.
How's it going, Bruce?
Thanks for having me, guys. Much appreciated.
How's it going, mister?
Well, it's everything's good. As you can see behind me, I like to keep the sports paraphernalia close by. Big part of our life around here, always has been, and I suppose always will be. So.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you can see the same thing with us. I mean, obviously, I'm a big Senators fan, and we've got the non-playoff success team behind Fleming there. I can't chirp right now, though. My Sens are just absolutely awful. So I'll stop with those trips there. But it's great to have you on and hear some different perspectives, about sports in our community. And obviously, in the introduction there, I talked about your father, who played on the greatest team to ever. The greatest Belleville team, the world champion 59. So we'd love to hear about that. But anyways, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself growing up and how you got to get in the sporting world?
Well, I guess it's fairly obvious why I'd be so involved with sports with my family's background, and it just wasn't my father. His brother Joe played in the NHL, and there was a bunch of boys, 3 boys came behind them that were all very strong hockey players. And my Uncle Brian was owned by the Boston Bruins and said, no way, I got a job with Manitoba Telephone. I'm not going to Boston. I can't make enough money. So he wouldn't go. He spent a career working in the telephone business in Manitoba. My family my parents both come from Portage La Prairie.
Okay.
Which is it started early. My father won a Memorial Cup there in 1942 with Portage Terriers. His dad, Addie Bell, was the coach of the team, and his brother Joe was a forward.
The whole family was involved.
They beat the Oshawa Generals, and which is fairly significant. Number one, we have scrapbooks full of all that stuff from the day that talks about who's going to pay for the Oshawa Generals to take the train halfway across Canada to Winnipeg to play these farm boys from Portage La Prairie. And well, the guys got the Generals got their asses handed to them on a platter, so to speak. And it's kind of interesting because I was unaware of it long after my father died. My Uncle Joe told me that how they dealt with Oshawa was they played, there was no red line, and you used to keep 2 forwards down at the other team's blue line. So your defense would hang back. So it was always kind of 3-on-3 in the offensive zone. Well, my grandfather and his, I guess, wisdom said, no, we're going to play 5-on-3 in their end, and we'll let those 2 guys stand down there. And if they get a breakaway, well, Tink loves it. That was my father's nickname forever, Tinkle. Tink loves breakaway, so let them have at it. So Oshawa had no answer for that. But what was significant about that for our family was, gosh, Jeff, you probably know a little bit about this. Maybe not. Your dad certainly would, being a Boston fan, is that Bep Gwidlin played for the Generals. And
Okay.
Bep Gwidlin went on to coach the Bruins in the early 70s, but he played for the McFarlands. And, fast forward through years and years of hockey, Belleville was putting together this team, and Bep Gwidlin was the one that said, I know a guy who's on the twilight of his career that we could probably get here. And so that started the whole process of my family, or my father, coming to Belleville. He had been with, I think, playing in the Quebec League with Three Rivers.
Okay.
At the time, and he just started the year with Three Rivers, and he was sold to a team in Ohio, I think in October or November, and they were on their way to Ohio, and they stopped in Buffalo to get a new pair of skates, and there was a message there for my dad to call Bep Gwidlin in Belleville. Well, Belleville meant nothing to my parents, but that started the whole ball rolling, and a day later, they ended up in Belleville. And it almost didn't last long.
So they were going to play pro, in Ohio, and then kind of changed their mind and ended up in Belleville for senior A kind of thing, or?
Yeah, and as the story went, there was a job offer from Harvey McFarland, because those guys all had to work, right?
Yeah.
Even the NHL guys were working in the summers in those days. So a job offer came in that he could have a job as long as he wanted if he came to Belleville. So they came to Belleville, and they met Dury Dennis, who was the city manager, but was also the manager of the hockey team. And they met them down on Front Street at the 99 Steps, the Queen's Hotel.
Oh, yeah, okay.
He said, this is where you're going to stay. And my mother sat in the car, and she said, Gordon, get back in the car. We're going to Ohio. she wasn't staying at the downtown at the Queen's Hotel. So anyway, they made some arrangements. Do you know where Camosis is now?
Yep.
And they've had that new build, but they were in that older house right beside Eastminster.
Oh yeah, Church. No, I know it well. Yeah, yep.
So they moved them into that house, the old house there, and I guess there was 3 or 4 McFarland families living in that house, and they went there and stayed there, and then. Jesus, it all just happened so fast, and my parents certainly didn't have any intention of staying in Belleville. I think their plan was to retire in Syracuse, where my dad had played 4 or 5 years in the American Hockey League with the Syracuse Warriors. And my mother said, "No, I like it here. I'm not going anywhere." So she said,
"The friendly city of Belleville, eh?"
Yeah. So, and look at all the people it happened to, right? All these people came, the Lamarans, the Crawfords, all these guys, so many of them stayed around.
Well, and it happens with when the Belleville Bulls were here too. We've had countless guys on our podcast who played for the Bulls that, grew up in Toronto, actually played for the Bulls, and now, live in Belleville, right? So, Renzi and who's a couple other Fleming?
Newberry,
Randy Rowe, Newberry. These guys, same thing, right? They played, and they went on to play pro after. But so your dad, that the year they won was 59.
Can I interrupt
right?
for a minute, Jeff?
Yeah, go ahead.
I heard you say Newberry. Could we maybe ship him out of town?
Why? What happened? What happened?
Oh, he just lighted me up like a firecracker. I've got no answer for him. He shoots, I can't even move quick enough to try and stop him.
Oh, yeah. Well, that pro shot, just a quick snapper.
Oh, yeah.
That's bad. He makes me look all of my 62 years.
We actually we went, was it about a year and a half ago when we were starting this thing, we actually went to World Elite there where he works and trains kids, right. And we did they have a shooting thing, rapid fire they call it, I think. And he beat us. He was just quick snappers, Flem? Remember that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So no, it's funny.
Wind up. Not at all. No, he just
boom.
Hammers a snapshot.
It's like they don't give the goalie time anymore, right? Like way back in the day, you were taught to bring it back, and then the goalie gets a read on it. Now the way the guys shoot, it's off their stick before you can even see it. Well,
right? it must be the composite sticks that allows them to do that, right?
I think it is. I think that's definitely part of it for sure. You're getting more spark out of more snap out of it probably than the old wooden ones, right? For sure. But so with it 59, you would have been born not much after that, then, eh? Because
I think I was a product of the party.
I was gonna. What's funny is so Ben and I were chatting here about dates and all this stuff. And we kind of joked about that. We said, maybe we'll ask him if this was a world championship celebration or whatever. So
it could be, I don't think the math quite works, but it wouldn't be far off.
No, it wouldn't be far. So are you, were you 60 or what?
I'm 62.
No, but, oh yeah. So you were born in 60.
Oh yeah, I was born in 60.
So, some of those guys that win championships, they party for 6 months though, eh?
Oh, and I imagine those guys did.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I love the stories, even better than the world championship is I love the stories of those guys going out to Kelowna and playing a 7-game series in Kelowna and coming back across Canada by train and having at it all the way home. And, funny thing about that train trip was, well, when they beat the Packers in 58, their coach was a guy named Jack O'Reilly. Okay. Small world. He was a center on the Portage Terrier Memorial Cup team.
Wow. Really?
So there's my dad and him connecting out there. On the way home, they stopped the train in Portage to give my dad 10 minutes with his mother. And,
no way.
And I forget how many people showed up, like hundreds and hundreds of people showed up the train station to cheer for Belleville. The Belleville won the Allen Cup, and it was, I guess, one of their sons that had. But anyway, we have pictures of my dad with his mother and Jack O'Reilly's mother there too.
No, so that's how important he was to the the junior team, though, right? Like that's crazy.
Well, he was just a kid when he played in that junior team. It started in a funny way for him. When he was 12, his dad coached the midget team, the Portage midget team, and his brother was on it, and my dad was only 12. Well, their goalie got hit in the head or something with a puck and couldn't play. And my dad said, well, it can't be that hard. I'll try it. And they ended up winning the Manitoba Midget A championship with his 12-year-old kid in net. And he never looked back. That's funny. He stuck with it.
Oh my, yeah.
So he was 16 when they won the Memorial Cup. And then he was 17. When he was 17, he set a shutout record in the American Hockey League with the Buffalo Bisons that stood for, I think, 61 or 62 years.
Wow.
And he turned 18 22 days after he turned 18 22 days before they won the Calder Cup.
Oh my, so he's really young at this age.
Yeah, so
you can't even do that now, I don't think. I think you got to be 19 or 20 to play.
Oh, I would think
AHL, don't you?
I've got to think.
Or 20, I think.
Probably the youngest goalie to ever win the Calder Cup.
I wouldn't doubt that at all.
Check that out. Yeah, that's cool.
You know what? I've tried. I've even gone so far. I had somebody doing a nomination for the Manitoba not Hockey Hall of Fame, the Sports Hall of Fame. He's in the Hockey Hall of Fame in Manitoba, but somebody wants to nominate him for the Sports Hall of Fame. And that was one of the questions. And I can't get any response out of the American Hockey League.
Really, eh? They don't have like anybody working just to check out.
No, and they won't give you any direct contact. You've got to do one of those email messages, then hit submit.
Yeah.
And it doesn't submit and whatever. But Mark Crawford, the Belleville Sens first year, David Andrews was the president of the American Hockey League at the time. And he asked me if I had any I was talking to Mark. Mark and I grew up together, so we're still good friends. He introduced me to David Andrews, and Mr. Andrews is asking me if I had any if I was familiar with their product. And I said, well, just a little bit. And he goes, oh yeah, how so? And I told him about the 43 Buffalo Bisons, and he didn't believe me.
No way.
So then I see him scoot right over to Crawford and talking, nodding, looking over at me, and Crawford's laughing, shaking his head, going, "Yep, yeah." So anyway, he came over and he asked me a couple of questions, and then I got a message from the American Hockey League and said we'll be back in touch, and I never heard back from him. So I don't know what that was about, but that now was a couple of years ago. So
what? They probably don't even keep those type of records, like just age of things like that. Like from 43, I'm sure they just don't. They don't track that or never did. Or
well, all the stats are there, but I suppose in today's NHL, I remember I sent Ron McLean an email one time. What's his name? Robin Leonard.
Yep.
He won the Calder Cup with Binghamton.
Mhm.
And Ron McLean's on with Cherry, and he joins, I forget who else, and then I hear him say, and Gordie Bell is the only 19-year-olds to win the Calder Cup. So I sent him an email and said, whoa. You're not joining Gordie Bell because he wasn't 19.
He was 18, yeah. Do you know what how many shutouts he had that year was?
It was 9.
9 shutouts.
That's
9 shutouts. And then, so Jason LaBarbera broke it. And then Matt Murray smashed it all to hell. And Matt Murray was a rookie as well. So Matt Murray so after LaBarbera broke it, they were calling it the rookie shutout record. And then Murray stole that. So
now I'm going to have to look at these stats when we get off of here.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize those ones, but yeah. So, well, I mean, I'm sure you guys, you and your dad would have had some stories through the days. So he played 13 years of pro, was it?
Oh,
or something like that, or maybe more, because maybe all the stats aren't even online. I think when I was looking, there was like a 2-year gap or something at the start.
Yeah, because after he won the Calder Cup in Buffalo, him and his brother Joe enlisted in the Navy.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah, which was very common. A lot of them did it. So,
yeah. As
a matter of fact, had Turk Broda stayed in the services a little longer, my dad might have had more than a cup of coffee with the Leafs, because that's when Broda came back from World War II.
Yeah.
My dad was.
He was back down.
Did they have backup goalies back in the day? Like I thought, like at that time it was just one goalie per team kind of thing.
One goalie, yeah.
Yeah. So there had only been 6 goalies in all the NHL at some points, like at that time, right?
And he's one of them, and he played 8 games.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow, I never thought. You don't think of it that way. That's crazy. Now you got what, 64? Well, you got probably close to 100 with the third goalies that they have up all the time and skating with them.
So in one of the scrapbook things we have, one of the things calls him the 7th best goalie in the world.
Oh wow!
No way.
Because he just couldn't crack it, right? And,
yeah.
And who knows what the reason was. A lot of people said it was that 2 years in the service that killed his NHL chances, but he was still young, so I don't know if that's necessarily true. I mean, who knows, right? Eddie Shore, Eddie Shore owned him for a lot of years, and Eddie Shore played a lot of dirty pool with those guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's it too, right? You never know what. Yeah. Well, and then did he end up? He was with New York too, right? Did he play games or just kind of with the system or
playoffs?
Oh, playoffs. Okay.
He was in Three Rivers. They were done for the year, and Gump Worsley got hurt, and I don't know how it happened, but my father didn't even know. They called him to Montreal, and somehow they had his equipment there, and they go, "You got to play. Worsley's hurt," so they signed him to a contract on the spot, and he played. That was game 2. They won 4-2. I think it was the only game Montreal lost in the playoffs that year.
Really?
So the Rangers. So Dad won 4-2 in the Forum, and then they went back to Madison Square Gardens, and Worsley played the next 2 games, and they went back to Montreal, and they put my dad back in net, and they lost 7-0. So that made him available for Belleville.
Now, what isn't there a story that like Guy Lafleur scored a bunch on him that night, or someone really famous in Montreal, right?
No, it would have been before Guy's time, wouldn't it have been?
Oh gosh, yeah, it was 56.
Yeah, like Rocket or something, maybe Richard.
Well, as a matter of fact, I belong to this vintage hockey site online. I don't even know what it is, but a couple of weeks ago, some guy posted a picture on there of that 7-0 game. So there's a picture of my dad and Rocket Richard shooting on him.
Oh, that's cool.
And it says in the cut line under the picture, Richard was the star of the night, collecting 5 assists.
Okay.
Oh, really?
That's what I saw it too. Is on the Belleville Heritage Group or whatever.
No, it's an American-based thing, I think. But when John Belleville died, they did a lengthy tribute to him on Hockey Night in Canada. Like it was like 15 minutes or something. And I think it was at the 12-minute mark. I'm watching the video because I've always been a diehard Montreal fan, and I'm watching this video just loving every minute of it. And they're showing Belleville, I think it was against Toronto, and somebody just two-hands them. And then they've spliced the video together. Then the next segment is him breaking in on the Rangers net and just completely undressing this poor goalie. And I go, holy fuck, that's my dad.
No way.
Thank God for PVRs, because I was able to stop and back up. And there was no mistaking that square head. It was definitely my dad. So
I was going to say that twin square head, because I mean, you guys almost look the same in some of the photos from Facebook that I've seen. I'm like, wait a minute here. Is this like time travelers or what?
So, the first thing that popped in my mind was what my father used to say to me all the time. Why are you laying on the ice? You got 2 good feet. And Belleville sprawled him out all over the ice. So I got quite a kick out of that.
Oh, man. So that must make you feel like, it's got to give you lots of joy to know that your dad played against all these legends, and now you're looking back now, like, how does that make you feel? Like, as far as seeing all these stuff and hearing all these stories, and even still today, like we're talking, 60, 70 years ago, these games happened.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you guys, when I was a kid, I didn't really understand that that's what my dad was a hockey player. He worked for McFarlands, and I thought he was in charge of all these dump trucks, and I thought that was the coolest job ever, and didn't give a shit about anything I heard about hockey. Well, as you start to get older and you start piecing it together and figuring it out, and I started to wonder why everybody seemed to know my father. Especially in Belleville, everywhere we went, people knew him. But we spent a lot of time at Maple Leaf Gardens when I was a kid, and we would always be down around the Leafs dressing room. My dad had a lot of friends involved with the Leafs, and I'd go down to the dressing room and get a hockey stick or whatever. So it was pretty neat that way. But I'll never forget. Where were we? In 79, my dad and I went to every home playoff game in Montreal that year. And that's the infamous Don Cherry on the bench after that. Well, they say it was a too many men, but he did that before the too many men penalty. Okay. So we were at the all the games, and we were going out for dinner, and we would go out for dinner. One night we went to Butch Bouchard's restaurant. And all these hockey players are in there, and they're all calling my dad by name, and I'm going, like, wow. I don't believe this. And then when I was at university in Guelph, for a couple of years on Thursday nights in the sports lounge, they used to have celebrities come in and talk, sports celebrities of some sort. Well, one night they had Rocket Richard in there. So he's giving this talk, and it was really fun. And when he was done, he started asking questions, or people could ask him questions. So I put my hand up, and he points, and I said, 1959. What are you doing in Prague, Czechoslovakia during the hockey season? Because he was there when the McFarlands were there for the World Championship. Okay. And he goes, well, I think the International Ice Hockey Federation brought him over as an ambassador. Okay. And so he was at the World Championships and carrying on with them. So then he went on, he asked a bunch more questions, and then he said, or people asked him questions. Then when everybody was done, he goes, I got a question. And he goes, that guy over there, and he points at me and he goes, how the hell would you know I'm in Czechoslovakia in 1959? And I go, well, it really wasn't a fair question, Mr. Richard. I said, my dad played net for Canada, and as soon as I got it out of my mouth, he goes, Mon Dieu, he goes, not Gordie Bell. Wow. And I go, yeah, and all of my buddies and all the football players are at this thing, and their mouths just fell open. And then he went on this thing, because my father had belonged to the Canadians, went to a lot of training camps, just never played any games for a lot of years. And he went on talking about my dad being one of the best goalies in the world. And of course, I was all puffed up and strutting around. But, you start going, geez, guys like Rocket Richard start talking about your dad. That's pretty good.
One of the greatest hockey players ever. Like,
yeah.
Especially did you have any drinks that night after hearing that from Rocket, or?
What's that?
Did you have any drinks that night after hearing that from Rocket?
Oh, yeah. But the story didn't end there. Just a second. What have I got here?
Oh, we got something here going.
Here we go.
Oh, so can you see this picture here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's that's obviously that's my dad. That's Sil Apps, Mel Hill, and Gay Stewart.
Okay.
And the very next day, that picture was the front page of the Toronto Sun Sports. And it said, this is what the Leafs need to do to get back to their Stanley Cup days. Well, it was wrong because my father never won a Stanley Cup. Right. So, but I wasn't divulging that. So I walk into the University Center the next day, and of course, all the meatheads, that's all we could read was the Toronto Sun. We couldn't read the Globe and Mail or anything like that, right? All the guys are sitting around the University Center with the Toronto Suns, and I walk in, and they're going, the fuck, man, is this your dad? I look in, I don't even smile. I go, yeah, that's my dad. And I just carried on and acted like it was all true.
Wow, that's awesome, though. It's those memories. And, I mean, the Rocket Richard one for me just – I think that's the coolest thing because, I mean, that guy was just something else, right? And he was, well, the most beloved I would say, of all time, just to be able to.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when he passed, they had his funeral, just watching it and how, big that was to the.
Well, him and Belleville, right?
Yeah, and Belleville too. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. But just to be able to say that and him knowing your dad and talking about him and how good he is or was as a hockey player and blah blah blah. That's definitely something special. But do you have any stories about things that might have happened maybe during his playing days, whether it was on the ice or off the ice or?
Well, I one of the things I always found amusing is I always just shake my head about his start with Buffalo. At such a young age, going, how the hell could a 17-year-old be hanging around with men? Well, I guess what they used to do with them was after the games in Buffalo, they used to go to a restaurant, an Italian restaurant, after all the players would go, and it was where the mobsters hung out. And the mobsters loved the hockey players, so the hockey players were getting free dinners and whatever. But I guess they would take my dad and they'd put him up by himself, and nobody was allowed near him. The mobsters made sure that everybody left him alone, and he was just a kid, and they let him have one beer, and not out of the bottle. It had to be in a glass.
Oh,
so he'd go eat a steak dinner, and then they'd send somebody would drive him. He lived with a family, and somebody would drive him home after that. And that's it. But you're going, Jesus Christ, like what would his teammates have thought of him? Like this little kid. I suppose between the whistles, they probably loved it because they're winning, right? So
there you go. Yeah.
How do you deal with a 17-year-old kid in your dressing room when you're 35 years old? Right?
Oh no. Yeah, exactly. You got guys that, well, they could have, kids that might be close, 10 or 12 years old or even closer to age, right?
Oh, I'm sure some of them did.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you have a kid at the age of 20 and you're 37. There you go, right? But
exactly.
No, that's true
because the backup goalie that year that played for, I don't know where he played for, and he had to come in a couple of times when my dad got hurt. They'd bring him over. His name was Freckles Little, and Freckles was only 18.
Oh, really? Holy!
I don't know where they got these kid goalies.
Did they have drafts back then, or how did they scout them or sign them, or how did all that work?
Well, it used to, like the Rangers got my dad and my uncle, but my dad wouldn't sign a contract with them. My uncle did right up the year after they won the Memorial Cup. My uncle went to New York. My dad wouldn't. He wouldn't sign a contract. So they sold his rights. They had his rights somehow. I don't know how that worked, but they sold them to Eddie Shore in Buffalo with the right of recall if they could get him to sign an NHL contract. But he just wouldn't for some reason. Can you imagine that? Like you're 17 years old.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of why wouldn't you? I mean, obviously there's got to be some reason to it, but and then
I suppose that thought you were worth more money started a long time ago. It's just not new. It's not new.
Yeah, maybe that's it. They're trying to take advantage of him or whatever, and he's thinking, hey, I put another year or two in here, and whatever the case, and maybe some other team wants me, but that's pretty awesome. And then so your uncle. He would have been a couple years older than your dad then, or And then what all happened with his career, kind of thing?
Well, he played a lot more games, and it wasn't a lot of games. It wouldn't have been 100 games, but I think he played something like 80 games or something in the NHL over different seasons with the Rangers. But he spent most of his adult life in Seattle. And so he played in that Pacific Coast League with Seattle.
Okay, yeah.
In fact, we had a Belleville guy went to Seattle to play as a young man and thought he was pretty good. He said he's telling me the story. Guy by the name of Wiener Brown.
Oh yeah,
There's a lot of weird names, not weird.
And Wiener says I go. It's my first pro tryout with the Seattle whatevers, and he said I'm flying all over the place. I'm one of the fastest guys in the ice, and he said all of a sudden I got a stick up under my Adam's apple, and this guy says I got 3 fucking kids, and if you think you're getting my job, you little prick, I'll cut your Adam's apple out right now.
Wow, jeez.
I said, geez, it was serious, and he goes, yeah. He goes, you know what the guy's name was? I go, no. He goes, Joe Bell.
No way.
Oh, no.
So,
oh my.
So Wiener says when your dad showed up in town, he said the first thing I said to him, I'm not a goalie. You don't have to worry about me trying to get your job. And you know Wiener, the way he'd laugh all the time, right?
Oh yeah. Yep. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way it was back then. Cause like these guys, some of them, I mean, it's not like they're making a ton of money, but they might not have an option B, right? Like, you know, you're 30 something years old and you don't have you lose this, you know, this job in this league. Where are you going?
Well, my mother tells a story about, I think my dad was playing, they were in Syracuse, and Mom said it was always the same thing, that my dad would have steak and potatoes in the afternoon because that's what hockey players ate, right? He'd have his nap and then go to the rink when they were at home. And then she would always, they lived in a house with a family, and the family would always look after my brother and sister, and she would go to the rink. Well, my dad got hit. I don't know how it happened, but I think at the end result was he got his face smashed into the crossbar and he broke his cheeks and his nose and an orbital bone. So he was out, and I think Syracuse played at 8:00. We'll call it 8:00, and he says to my mom, "Do you want to go down and watch the game?" Mom says it's 7:30 or something. She said, "Nope, I'm staying home tonight. I'm staying home with the kids. You can go." So my dad says, "Okay, I'll go." So he drives down to the rink, and an hour and a half later, she turns on the radio to see what the score is, and the announcer's going, "He can't even open his eyes. How's he stopping the puck?" And my mother's going, "Oh no!" It's like, what is wrong with him? But that was the mentality, right? Somebody else is going to come in and stop pucks.
So did he start that game, or like what happened? He just volunteered to go in, or like they didn't have no.
He just went to the rink. Probably looked at whoever was dressed, said, "Get out of here! That's my job."
Wow.
No way. They just
I
like,
don't think they were. I don't think they worried about that stuff too much. I think they were worried about keeping their jobs.
yeah, and then because there's not really a plan B. But what was it like for the mentality for these goalies to not wear helmets? Did he ever talk about that? Because that to me, you look at it today. I know the shots are different and whatnot, but still, I mean, wow.
Well, that's why he retired, right? He was 36, but he lost an eye.
Really? Okay.
So
holy.
The next fall, after they won the world championship in 59, it would have been the fall of 59. He got hit, and I think it was an exhibition game, and it might have been against Whitby. He got hit in the eye, and so he went to Montreal. The lady that formed Jacques Plante's call it third mask or whatever, because he had some rude masks that he was using, but his first fiberglass mask, she did my dad's, and it was an ignorant piece of equipment. I mean, it was just fiberglass formed to his face with pinholes. Oh. And that was it. There was no padding, no anything. And in fact, we had a lot of fun with that mask. That mask is in the Kingston Hockey Hall of Fame.
Oh, really?
They got it down there. And we used to, as kids, we'd take it out on the street and play road hockey. We'd make new guys who were stupid wear it. And because my dad, he certainly didn't have his dentures in when the mask was made, so he had no teeth. If you had teeth and you put that mask on, your lips would stick way out of the mouth hole. So we'd put, Jigger McKnight would put that mask on. We'd pepper tennis balls till we got them in the yap. split his lips wide open.
Oh my!
I was telling a guy not too long ago. There's more DNA all over that mask. There's a lot of disease probably.
And now this is at the Kingston Hall of Fame. Is that at the arena? I don't even know where the Kingston.
Yeah, that the new arena on Gardner's there.
In Vista.
Oh, in Vista. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
That's where it used to be down at the old rink, and they've moved it now.
Okay.
Out to Gardner's Road, and it's funny they brought when my young lad was at St. Teresa. They brought the Hall of Fame or a portion of it to St. Teresa and set it up in the gymnasium. And my son Cameron, his first name is Gordon. He goes by his middle name. He says to the lady, he goes, "Ma'am, you got the name on that mask wrong." And she said, "Oh, son, no, we don't. This has been fact checked, and it's George Bell." And my son said, "No, ma'am, it's not." She said, "Now, why would you think it's wrong?" And he said, "Well, because my name's Gordon Bell, and that's my grandfather's mask, and his name's Gordon Bell, not George." Well, she phoned that day and apologized and got it straightened out. I don't know if it was in the hall like that with the wrong name on it. Who knows?
So someone just made an error kind of along the way, but that's kind of cool for your son too, right? Like, I'm Gordon Bell, and I'm named after him, I would assume, right?
Yeah,
that's kind of cool. I like that story.
I've often thought he might switch away from Cameron and go. Well, his when he was at Western, he went to Western, and he's into music, and he would do the disc jockeying thing at parties, and his disc jockey handle was DJ Gordon.
Oh yeah,
DJ Gordon, that's awesome.
There we go.
I like that. So, would your dad once you guys lived in Belleville after his career, would he ever take you down to the McFarland games when you guys were younger? And
no, because they were done, right?
Okay, when did they finish?
Well, I think they had. I think 61. He coached them.
Yeah.
After he retired, he coached them for a year, and that was it.
Oh,
and then different senior teams came in, like the Screaming Eagles and the Quinnies, and gosh, I can't remember all the names. But we used to go down to all the senior games for sure when I was a kid. Just wasn't McFarlands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, were they still playing at the Memorial then?
Yeah.
So would that place just be rocking, just two guys per seat kind of thing, or what was the atmosphere like in Memorial back in the day?
Well, geez, I don't even think the seats were in yet.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, they didn't have seats back then? I didn't even know that.
No, and when I was a kid, there was no seats in there. It was all bench seating.
I didn't even know that. Those seats look so old. I thought they were from way back then.
And so
I would bet you those seats probably went in there around 1970.
Okay.
Somewhere in around there, because they definitely weren't there when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And we used to play, when I started playing hockey, we used to play across the ice there, 3 games going at once.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I used to get a lot of trouble. My hero was Gump Worsley. And he was the last guy playing without a mask, right? So when I was tight down there, I'd be 4 or 5 years old playing against these bigger kids and whatever, and they'd get the puck, and my mask was like a catcher's mask, and there's no backing on the head of it or anything, just where I used to pull the mask off and throw it on the ice and go, "I'm the Gumper." And they'd have to stop the game and go, "Not gonna let you play net if you do that anymore." I had some fascination with Gump Worsley.
So you were a goalie growing up, right?
Yeah.
So what was it? Yeah. So what was it like? What did your dad teach you? Styles, and what was all that like growing up with obviously
Stand
your dad
on your feet.
so much
Stand on your feet.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no reason to be on the ice in those days, and well, Hossack wasn't really a butterfly guy. I guess Tony Esposito was the first butterfly, but Hossack was really kind of the first to play a lot from on the ice, right, and play well. I kind of laugh. I think, boy, oh boy, I wonder how my father would rethink that, watching how the goalies play now with all butterfly, right?
It's totally different. I remember a guy, Rexy. You remember Rexy? Steve Rex. So when I was growing up, I was playing with Tyler Pepper. 1 year, I think I played with him, and so his dad and Rexy were good buddies, and Rexy would come a bit, and he'd always tell him, stand up, stand up, stand up. And it was the game had already kind of changed, and I don't know whether that was good or bad for Pepper, but it was funny seeing his philosophy, because when he was playing, and he was a heck of a goalie too, I think he was drafted by Pittsburgh. But anyways, that was the way it was, right? It was stand up, stand on your feet, right?
So my dad used to take, holy shit. Here's another one I'll show you.
Oh.
Now, can you see this goalie stick?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Holy, that's got to be old, eh?
This is the 1942 Memorial Cup.
No, come on.
Yeah. But
80 years
look here
ago.
on the shaft of this. Can you see this?
Yep.
That's a knob.
Okay.
So my father would stand like this with his hand above that knob.
Oh, they had it way up that high.
So he used to put a knob not this high. I think this one's probably shifted a little bit, but he used to put a knob on my sticks halfway between this one and the paddle.
Oh, okay.
And make me hold the stick there. And why he did that was because he said that lifts you up and puts your weight on your heels, and then you can make skate saves.
Oh, okay. So that was the trick back then, was the skate saves.
Skate saves, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
But, the equipment was. So when I was in minor midget, I needed skates or something. So I wore my dad's skates, the skates that he stopped to get in Buffalo when they ended up in Belleville. So that would have been 1956. In 1976, I wore those skates for part of the season, made a skate save, and the blade fell off because the sole of the skate was rotted. I went down to, you guys wouldn't know this place, but down in the wharf, there was a place called Bland Sports, Bob Bland Sports, and a guy by the name of Judd Seamart ran the store. And I went down, Judd fixed me up with a pair of tacks and tack goal skates. And those skates, there wasn't one morsel of difference from the 1976 model to the 1956 model. They were
really
identical.
just the same. No
Exactly.
advancement in technology or nothing, eh?
And let me tell you, heavy. I got more shit around here.
We'll have to do a Hall of Fame tour someday, eh?
Yeah. So look at that.
Oh my,
That's
those are
a goalie skate?
Yeah.
That's unreal.
So that's a 1976 goalie skate, and the 1956 looked identical.
Really?
This one's still actually in pretty good shape. I could still wear that if I just wouldn't be strong enough.
Yeah,
But
wouldn't be much protection there though. Why? You take something off that thing and
that's heavy leather.
is it thick though? Like would it?
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, and you used to oh my God, I can't remember the last time I ever got hit on the inside of my foot.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I used to get hit there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it might make you yelp a little bit.
Just with the style, right? Trying to use your feet, right?
You were always kicking your feet. To me now, it just seems so. But I don't think my father and I ever got the credit that we deserve for our work in science, because we proved that genetics has nothing to do with goaltending, because it doesn't pass down from. And my son strapped them on over and picked him one day when he was in tyke or novice, I guess, and he got lit up for 10. So it doesn't skip a generation either.
That's funny.
That's too funny.
I wish it did get passed down, but no, I didn't get what he had.
You didn't get those NHL genes, eh?
No, sir.
No.
No.
Well, did you get him in another sport? Maybe golf? I mean, I know you love the golf. Are you a scratch golfer or what?
I always was of the opinion I was a better ball player than I was a hockey player.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Played
like
a lot of
fastball
hardball.
or?
Yeah, I played baseball and played all the way through. So like every other year, Peter Hall would have been on we'd have been teammates.
Oh, okay. So yeah, Peter was a big player too. I think he
So
tried out with like the Expos or something.
Yeah, I'm a year younger than Peter, and we had some really. What was nice about that, because when Belleville went AAA, and it wasn't a regional team, it was if you didn't sign up in Belleville, you couldn't play on the rep teams, right? So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, your dad was lucky because his age group had a good AAA team. My age group was pathetic. So,
oh, really?
We got the shit beat out of us all winter long, every winter, and baseball season came along. It was payback time because for whatever reason we had strong ball teams at our age groups around here, so that was good.
Now, what were the baseball teams called back then? Were they still like the Buccaneers or?
No, you know what? Like I don't think we had a name. Okay, I think like in Bantam we were sponsored by the Legion, so I think it was Belleville Legion 99.
Okay, yeah. Well, because the Legion sponsored like the silver bat tournament. I don't even know what the
golden bat.
The golden bat, yeah, like the Legion
because that was a Bantam tournament
forever, right? Yeah.
Yeah. That was a Bantam tournament. So and they were the Bantam sponsors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the last year we had here, getting off topic a little bit, was when Trenton folded their midget baseball team, and we combined in midget with Trenton.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And we had a really good team. I don't know if the name like Chris Walsh would mean anything to you, but
possibly, yeah.
Yeah,
so
would they have had like Bobcat team that won All Ontario back in the day?
Okay, but would they have what? So did it work like provincials? Did they have nationals or anything like that back then, or what was like the farthest you could go?
We lost in that year. We lost in the gold medal game of the Ontario Summer Games.
Okay,
and the winner went to the Canada Summer Games.
Oh, no way! One more win and you're at nationals.
What position did you play in baseball?
Well, I caught for a lot of years.
Okay, yeah, goalies, catchers, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then in midget, I moved out to the infield, and I played shortstop and then second base. And I played when I got into playing like Cornerstone Blues and whatever. I played a lot of second base.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Didn't have to cover as much ground as a shortstop.
Yeah, don't need the big arm, eh?
No.
Yeah, Fleming's a big baseball guy.
You know what, Bruce? I don't know if you remember this, but I realized this when he said Cameron's name. I coached Cameron. I think when you were like Pee Wee or like minor Pee Wee or something like that. My dad coached the team. He's like, "Do you want to help?" And I was like, "Sure." And then I
do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't remember that until he said Cameron's name. I was like, "Oh shit, that's kind of ringing a bell now." And I do remember that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I coached the Royals for 3 years, but I think that was a couple years after I coached Cameron at that point.
Yeah, because now Cameron got involved with that Royal program because I remember they went to that Watertown Little League tournament.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A couple of years, and they had a riot at that.
Yeah, it was always a fun tournament.
Well, it's nice to see. It seems like baseball's maybe having a little bit of a comeback, and it's nice to see.
It is, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd like to see fastball come back around too, because I think those two sports feed off one another.
They definitely do, yeah. Like when I played, I used to play fastball, and then I think at whatever age, 13 or 14, transitioned into baseball. And we kind of had a similar story to you, where when we were in midget, the midget team in Belleville actually folded, so we combined with Kingston, and then we would go on to win all Ontarios at one point for Kingston. And I think we were like the first team in Kingston win AA all Ontarios in like 50 or 60 years or something like that at that point.
Kingston always had good teams.
Gosh, for sure. Mm-hmm.
We had a lot of battles with them.
Yeah, just down in McGaffin Park, the little short porch in left field. And
yeah, as a matter of fact, that short little left field, that was my first dinger.
Your first dinger, right? That's good. Yeah.
Well, it was the first one that I ever got to trot around the bases.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. my most embarrassing story is a buddy I golf with, actually, a guy named Chad Storing. We were playing a game. We must have been like 15 or something like that when I was playing for Belleville. And it was a Coach Go game. So this is the only game I think they ever televised for your 8-year baseball career. And he took me deep over that little short porch in left field. Just crushed it. It was out in about a second and a half. It was just gone.
Well, it wasn't very far. No, I know I'm getting off topic a little bit here, but I'll tell you.
He probably hit the beer store.
When I was playing for Cornerstone Blues, we were playing in Ajax one on a Saturday afternoon. And they had a left-hander pitching, and he couldn't break a pane of glass, just throwing all off-speed shit. And I was hitting him hard. I just couldn't find a gap. It was hitting at people all the time. And I came up in the ninth. There was 2 out, and Blaine Loft walked. And then I came up, and this mouthy left-hander's on the mound going, "Oh, well, let's end it right now. This guy can't hit this. Well, why even bother? Okay, we won. What do we win? 1-0, guys." And he's carrying on. I'm half embarrassed. by his mouth going on. First pitch, he threw me a hanger, and I went yard with it. I didn't budge. I stood right there, watched it. As soon as it cleared the fence, I started this slow motion trot, and I was just gumming him all the way around. Going, pardon, can't hear you. Pardon. I rounded third base, and they got like a 6'7" third baseman. Fucker punched me right in the ear.
No way.
How old are you guys at this point?
23.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's a year older too.
Oh, senior
That's
baseball, yeah.
Yeah. No, I didn't know what I was thinking younger for some reason. That's
No. Grown ass men on a Saturday afternoon that drift.
Gotta go to work or whatever, I guess in 2 days.
That sounds like a pay-it-forward sports tournament now, Brokey.
Well, I got to tell you, I wasn't giving up that home run, so I sucked it up, ran home, touched home plate, and then turned around, ran back. By the time I got there, all hell had broken loose.
That's awesome.
I love how you just stood there and watched it go over, though, and then run after.
Yeah, I didn't get many opportunities to do that, so I wasn't letting that mouthpiece off the hook that easy.
That's a good
Holy
one.
jumpings. So throughout the years, when you like, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Your dad played hardball when he was younger, and then he moved to fastball with Coltman and all those guys.
Yeah, I think that's what they did. Yeah, because I think my grandpa coached him a couple of the years. Herb, he was coaching them. I don't know how old they would have been. 13, 14, 15, maybe somewhere in that range.
Well, all the way up, and they were winning all Ontario's.
Yeah, I know they won a few. I know. Yeah,
they had good teams.
Yeah. Well, Timmy Soul would have been playing too.
Andy Rossett.
Andy Rossett was another big name. Yeah, he was a big athlete, right around the area.
Yeah, he was really good quarterback. I think he was a starting quarterback for Western for 3 or 4 years.
Now, and then did he play in the CFL, was it? Or no?
I don't know. I think he joined the police force somewhere. I'm not sure whether he was a Mountie but I think he joined the police force, and it could have been the RCMP.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah, he was a really good. They had all kinds of. I mean, when your dad was playing hockey, we'd go to tournaments, and if his team didn't have something go on, we'd take your dad and Mark Crawford and Sean Mulroney, and we were a year older than them. They'd be our 3 best players.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
See, I've never heard stories like that, but that's funny. So you guys were kind of weak then until baseball season then.
Yeah, we were, and it hurt.
Yeah.
It hurt a lot. Now, playing for Floyd and midget.
Yep.
That was interesting. That was really interesting.
So what was he like as a coach?
Floyd wasn't quite used to having a bunch of we were like the Bad News Bears, right?
I love those movies though.
No, we did have 2 twin brothers, Huey and Howard Graham.
Okay.
And they were the toughest in the Eastern Ontario AAA League, bar none. And we used to get our asses handed to us in the scoreboard, but those 2 would beat the shit out of everybody. So we didn't lose many fights. Just didn't win many hockey games.
That's too funny. So you mentioned Floyd there for a second, and actually I wanted to ask this question earlier, but I forgot. So obviously Floyd in with the Belleville McFarlands was the captain, and I think in Belleville probably kind of known as the godfather of hockey, as you say it, with all the kids and everybody, making their statements on hockey. Yeah. Any good stories or any good lines, maybe? Like, what was he like as maybe the captain? And then obviously I've heard some stories about his coaching, techniques. He was kind of like that. Well, that's how coaching was back then. John Tortorella style. Would I get that right?
You didn't hear stories about Floyd being really vocal. I always heard stories that he was just team above all else.
Yeah.
And that was his mantra. And, I think Floyd was a natural born leader, and I think those guys followed him, and I think they all bought into the program. And, there was a lot of bad feelings. I shouldn't say bad feelings, but there were some hard feelings. They started bringing in guys like Al Dewsbury and Pete Conacher and Red Berenson. After they won the Allen Cup, they brought all these guys in to go to the World Cup. And so you had some pretty popular guys that got left home. that didn't get to go to the World, that played on the Allen Cup championship team that didn't get to go to Europe to play. And so, you know what, like I did hear a story. I don't know if you're familiar with Red Berenson.
A little bit.
Heard the name, yeah.
Red coached the University of Michigan forever. I think he's probably about the second winningest coach of all time in hockey, but college NCAA hockey. But he had a stellar NHL career, first with Montreal, then St. Louis. But he came to Belleville right after school. They brought him in, and I guess in practice he was whipping pucks around my dad's ears. So my dad just said, "Well, fuck him." As soon as he come in to shoot, he just skate out of the net, which I guess irritated Red Berenson to no end. And finally, words were exchanged, and Berenson said, "Your job is to stop pucks, my old man. My job is to score goals, get in the net." And I guess a little squeeze of the Adam's apple changed his attitude a little bit. So except my dad grabbed a hold of him pretty quick. Said, "Oh yeah, kid." So, but Floyd wouldn't be long straightening that out because that just wasn't the way they operated with that team. It was a big family, and it was, I remember a lot of stuff when I was a little kid, long before I was really aware of what that team had done and whatever. That they were all friends, and they were always, there was always people in our backyard having barbecues and whatever that were, players from that team and their families. So. And there's a lot of guys around, like all the Crawford boys and the Jones and the Smirks and guys like that I've known all my life, right? And they're just kind of like brothers because of that team.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's how big it was, for the city of Belleville too. I've seen some of the photos and whatnot, even of the big parade they had too.
50,000 people.
Yeah, and that's probably when Belleville had 30,000 maybe living here. I don't know.
Yeah,
that. Right. That's probably, let's say, close to double of the population. Is that what it was? 50,000? I didn't realize that. That's unreal, right? That's pretty cool.
And we used to, as a kid, for years, my family would go once a year. There was a hotel in Trenton. I don't remember what it was, but two elderly ladies owned it. And once a year, my family would go over there for dinner. And because they were fans of my dad, and they would be thrilled to have my dad and his family there. And we did for years. We did it once a year. We went, and it was just because of that hockey team, right? And then there was all kinds of stuff. I remember we used to go in high school down to the National Pool Hall. Me and my best friend's name was John Armstrong, and Army and I'd go down and play pool down there.
Is this Brock's dad?
Yep.
Oh, I know Army. He's a number. I love him. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I didn't realize that was your best friend growing up. Then.
Oh, in all through high school, through grade 7 and 8 and all through high school. And for years afterwards, we're still good friends. But him and I would go down to the National, and some other guys would play pool. Well, one Saturday, my dad and I are downtown, and we walk in, and George, he's a Greek gentleman, owned the place. Yep. He couldn't talk to me. And finally I go up. I've lost pool, so I've got to pay. And he goes, "Is that your dad?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Why didn't you tell me?" And I go, "What am I supposed to say? Do you know who my dad is?" Yeah. I never paid for pool again.
Oh, no way.
Did not take my money. And I'm going, that's bizarre. But that's what people in the community felt about it, right? They were just so wrapped up in it.
They were the rock stars, I guess. For years to come. That's pretty cool, actually. I like that.
Now, when we talk about Floyd as a coach, I can tell you my favorite story of Floyd as a coach was you know how the dressing rooms were down the Memorial. You had the two long halls on the east side of the building. You had the two long halls and the two short hall. Yep. Or no hall dressing rooms. Well, we always practice if you come in from the ice, the long hall dressing room on the left.
Okay.
So instead of going through the doors out into the parking lot, hang the left and go down the long hall into the dressing room.
Yep.
That's where we always dressed, and we practiced Tuesday mornings and Thursday afternoon, Thursday after school. And without fail, Floyd was always the first one in that dressing room on Tuesday mornings, and he would walk from Charles Street with his bucks and stick and skates over his shoulder, and he didn't stop to offer rides because Floyd didn't want to ride, right? He walked down there. So one day Floyd didn't show up. He's not in there. And we're all in the dressing room. We go, well, what do you want to do today? That rotten prick's not here. We can do whatever we want today. That son of a bitch. So we pretty much said what we were thinking. All of a sudden, the boom, Floyd boots the door open and goes, you spineless bastards, you haven't got the guts to say it to my face. You might as well leave your sticks here because there's no pucks going to be on the ice today.
So he was like testing you guys just to see what you'd say, kind of thing?
He's sitting in the little dressing room. Listen to every word.
No.
Yeah. He's hearing every word that's coming out of our dressing room. So he skated us and skated us and skated us and skated us and skated us. It was brutal. So Thursday afternoon, we go back. No Floyd. We go, oh, yeah, we're not falling for this again. Come on, you guys. We got to put together good practice. We got the best coach in the league. Let's get out there. Come on, guys. Let's make Floyd proud. Blah, blah, blah. Boom. The door comes open again. Why, you spineless pricks, you haven't even got the nerve to speak your mind anymore. Leave your sticks in here. He did it to us again.
That's a great story.
After that, our dressing room was pretty quiet for a few weeks.
You don't know what to say at that point. It's like, what do we tell this guy?
Exactly. You know, I always said about Floyd, I spent a winter thinking I hated the man and spent the rest of my life loving him like he was my own father.
Yeah.
He was truly a great guy. And it's kind of funny. When after I graduated from university, Floyd didn't want to talk about hockey anymore. He talked to me about authors and books and whatever. And I go, oh, God, Floyd, you have no idea. Like, I'm not that into school. I just was trying to get a job. Floyd is speaking to me like I'm a scholar or something. I go, oh, no, Floyd, you're losing me.
Just went for the farm girls, eh?
Yeah.
More girls at university than in the Belleville, eh? The Belleville area.
Well, you know what? There was 4 years of my life I wouldn't trade for anything. Guelph was a great city to be in, and the football team won a Vanier Cup while I was there, which almost cost us a year. And one of the guys just got inducted into the Belleville Sports Hall of Fame, Pat Tracy.
Oh, really? Okay.
Cool.
He was a player on that team.
Huh. So what? Just quite a lot of partying that year because they were so good, or?
Yeah, there was a lot of party. It almost cost us our semester.
After every game, eh? Every win.
Well, and then you get thinking about the next game, you know, the Yates Cup final, and you're partying for 3 days leading up to that, and then it's the whatever. Then it's the Churchill Bowl and whatever. It was a great semester. We had a lot of fun.
I bet.
And well, Mark Hanley was there at the same time. He played a little hockey at Guelph.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. He was a player.
So were you in like sports management or journalism at Guelph?
No.
Okay.
I took my official degree is sociology and anthropology, but my focus was criminology.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was going to join Toronto Police.
So how'd you get your start in sports then? Like writing sports?
Well, you know what? I worked for a company in Toronto as a sales manager. We manufactured concrete forming hardware, and it was for big industrial like sky domes and big condominiums and stuff like that. So it was big business. But when my wife got a job offer in Belleville at BGH, and we're approaching our mid-30s, going, okay, are we getting married and getting on with this or whatever? So I quit my job, moved to Belleville, and I said, okay, what am I going to do now? So I went to, I guess when I was 36, I started at Loyalist and took the 2-year journalism program.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
I always liked to write, and my first job was for 3 years. I was a sports editor in Port Hope.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
And I can't get on that rotten prick O'Brien's missing curfew.
Oh no, he won't let you on. He's quite the character. Holy jumpins, that guy is.
I used to play golf with him and his dad and his uncle Dennis. And Dennis played for Boston and Minnesota for years.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and not a big guy, but and he's a Port Hope guy, so I would play golf with him. But Dennis didn't realize that I played senior baseball against him, and one of the funniest things I ever saw was, or one of the best chirps, is Don Cherry's first tape had just, or Rock'em Sock'em or whatever it was, came out.
Yep.
And Dennis is in it about 8 times fighting, and he doesn't win one. But he'll take on anybody, but he's just not winning, right? So we're playing up in Port Hope one night, and Dennis gets into it with our first baseman, and they get pushing and shoving, and nothing comes of it. Dennis is going by our bench and goes, wow, what a chicken shit prick he is, or something. And Warren Hay was our coach, and Warren goes, I wouldn't fight either, Dennis. And Dennis looks at him and he goes, we just saw the Don Cherry tape, and you're due to win one.
I like that.
That was good.
So I brought that up on the golf course with Dennis one day. He said, this best sports chirp I ever heard. He goes, that was a classic. He goes, I didn't see it coming, and I walked right into it. I used to cover Shane played for the junior team. He played for what the hell were they? They weren't the Panthers then. The Buzzards.
Okay.
Buzzards. But he was a really, really good ball player, and he could have probably played collegiate ball.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that.
Yeah. He was a catcher, and he hit with power.
Yeah. Well, he's a bigger guy though, isn't he? Compared to what you describe his uncle would be. And I know he liked to have some fun. The stories that about Shane, holy jumpins. Was his uncle like that too, and his dad?
Well, I think so. I think
runs in the family, eh?
Yeah, yeah.
Didn't skip a generation.
No. Now his Shane's dad Pat was a lot, seemed to be a little quieter, but he liked fun too.
Yeah.
So Shane comes by it honestly.
Oh yeah. Well, I think Shane, they're doing that podcast out of they're living in California now, I think, aren't they?
Oh, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, they're living the life now. They're not getting these 401 snow winters or cold winters anymore.
Yeah, I don't know whether he's down on Huntington Beach or where he is, but he's down there somewhere.
Oh yeah, just getting the tan's going. Doesn't have to do the spray tan up here.
My dad played 1 year in Hollywood.
Oh yeah?
Played for the Hollywood Wolves. And
really?
You know who one of his teammates was on that team was Bill Barilko.
Oh, okay.
Wow,
I know that name.
From 50 Mission Cap.
Yeah.
Really?
Scored the goal that won the
last Stanley Cup. Yeah.
Do you remember the story of him?
He died, and they found him in 2 years later. He died with a plane crash or something. Or
way longer than that, I think.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it was way longer.
And then the year later, they found him. That's when the Leafs won the cup, right? Or something.
I think the plane was in a tree.
Oh, okay. Was that what it was? Yeah.
Yeah. Him and I think it was a dentist from Timmins were going fishing or something to a fishing camp or hunting camp or something, and crashed.
Yeah, and then the Leafs won the cup right after they found him or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They didn't win it for a few years. I mean, there's only 6 teams then, but
I think they clinched the day they found the cup. That's the story, I'm pretty sure.
Or
they clinched the last time they won was when they found
67?
the plane.
Yeah.
But I know his last goal, the last goal he ever scored, won the cup.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, is that the story? Okay.
Yeah.
So he played with him then. So that would have been before, obviously. So he would have been like a rookie when he played against your dad. Then I guess
they were young. So they went Hollywood, and then they both got sent to Pittsburgh, and Barilko got sent to the Leafs, and I think my dad got told to stay in Pittsburgh. He wasn't going anywhere.
So, but back then, you don't really hear of many teams from California and whatnot. Was there many, or was it? And the southern teams, it was all the northern stuff, right?
Yeah, but that was. I know Hollywood was in the Pacific Coast League, so that they probably ran right up and down that coast, right?
Yeah.
And Seattle would have been in that league and whatever. But I do know that my dad's stint in Hollywood played a big part in my parents getting married, because my father heard through the grapevine or something that my mother might have had a boyfriend in Portage La Prairie, and he said, "Oh, I got to get home quick." I went back and proposed to her.
Well, I don't think there's any denying your dad, because you're his twin, I think.
Yeah.
First hand up wins, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. But this has been a ton of fun, buddy. You got any other questions, Flem?
I want to circle back to one here. So you said when they won the Allen Cup on the train ride back, give me an estimate. How many beers do you think they downed on the train ride?
And how long was the train ride? Just to
that would have been nasty.
A couple days, like
3 days or something, probably, or.
Well, I think it was 3 days.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Oh God, Flem, that's an unanswerable question. I would have just imagined. Davy Jones. I don't know if you know his son Cracky.
Yeah.
Well, he broke his neck out there, so he's on the train. And I guess they just picked on him all the way home. He's got a cast around his neck and it goes up the back of his head and around his forehead, like it's the strangest thing you ever saw. And he's just partying away with a head cast or neck cast or something.
It's dedication.
I've never seen anything like it. And I think they were pulling all kinds of stunts on him because he couldn't turn his head.
So I didn't realize that. So Cracky, it's Cracky, right?
Yeah.
What's his name? Isn't his name Dave? Or no?
Yeah. He's Dave, and his dad was Dave.
Yeah, and do you know what the grandson's name is? Because Fleming, you would know him. Hawk used to be buddies with him, so you probably know him.
Chris is one of them.
Jones, bald head. Chris Jones. Is it Chris?
Yeah, I think Chris is one, and
I don't know if it's Chris, the guy I'm thinking of, though.
He's got two boys, and geez, I should know their names.
But I didn't know his dad was on that team either. So, okay, because Crocky's a massive Bruins fan. I know him and my old man. They used to get together for some of the playoff games a couple years ago, anyways.
Where do all these Boston guys come from?
Well, I think that you growing up seeing Bobby Orr fly through the air, probably.
CB just recruits him in the basement. That's all. He just brings him to the dark side.
God, it's brutal. Like we'd play that Wednesday night golf, and there'd be your dad and Quigley and all these guys in their
Joe Collins. I don't know if he plays in that, but he hangs out with them. And yeah, there's a few of them, man. I think growing up that 72, they would have been 10, 11, 12 years old. You're at that age where you see Bobby Orr, and back then, I mean, he was just unbelievable. There was no question, right? Be like Connor McDavid now, but even worse, even better.
So if you're building a hockey team, who's the first guy you'd pick ever?
Holy, like at their prime, in their level,
like from any era, it doesn't matter. Who would be the first guy you'd pick?
I'm not going first.
Eric.
Well, let's.
We saw him last week.
I don't know if I'd go with Eric Lindros, though. I mean, let's who would you take?
I might take Mario Lemieux.
Yeah, that's one. I mean, Mario Lemieux, Bobby Orr, Wayne Gretzky. I mean, you've got to, you got to take them in their prime. I mean, a goalie maybe like Hasek. Hasek's got to be one of the best.
You got to be Patty Waugh for goalie, buddy.
I don't know. I think Hasek success. To be honest, did he not?
He still quit the Montreal Canadiens.
He did.
Yeah.
And I struggle with that. But I forgave him.
But I think the coaching did make some mistakes there. I mean, they did leave him in and all that stuff. But
so my wife and I were going to Los Angeles, and we're in Pearson, and it was right around March break. But I forget exactly what the timing was, but he was on his way to Denver to sign a contract to coach them.
Oh, this is a few years ago then, hey? Yeah.
Yeah, and we're in this big, massive cattle lineup to go through security. And a guy comes, like a security guy comes into the lineup and says to him, "Mr. Waugh, would you like to come with me and get out of this?" And he looked around. He goes, "No, I'm okay." And he stood in that shit show for an hour. And I went, okay, maybe I forgive him a little bit.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, you think most guys would be like, "Yeah, I'm coming," because I know I would.
If he asked me,
I've been in some of those lines, and it's like,
yeah,
I'll
if he asked me, I'd
pay.
be gone.
I'll give you $50 sometimes. Get me out of some of these lines, the traveling lines. Holy gee! Well, some of them, I know Pearson had some bad stuff months ago. The Spirit Chicklets there, Ryan Whitney was talking about it. It was pretty funny, but some of those aren't fun. But yeah, so you're a massive Habs fan then. Where are you at with that team? I mean, my boy Marty St. Louis got them playing way better than I thought they would be.
I'm pretty excited about the future for Montreal. You know what? I used to get so annoyed when they lost. Well, now if they play well, I don't care because I see the sun coming up for that team.
They're not expected to win. You know what I mean? Yeah. So they're in that kind of rebuilding stage where. That was kind of like me with the Ottawa Senators last 2 years. If they didn't win and they played well, okay. And now I'm like, we should start winning. When is this winning going to happen?
Montreal's got a ton of youth on the back end. They got a bunch of youth everywhere.
Yeah. Well, that Cole Caulfield, I mean, it's the biggest, craziest stat for me is like, if you look at before St. Louis came in, I think he had like 1 goal in 40 games. And then he scored like 20, maybe more, 20 goals in the last 40 games when St. Louis was the coach. Like, that's just unreal.
That's all coaching, right?
Yeah. It has to be, yeah.
He was all uptight. He wasn't trusted. He wasn't – and, like they'd say, what's his name? Keenan was like that. Keenan wouldn't give the young guys an inch, to be creative, to do their thing. And St. Louis doing that. St. Louis letting them have fun and letting them play, and look what he's getting out of them.
Yeah, and letting them develop. And I think the biggest thing is being okay with them making some mistakes as long as they learn from them. It's when you're not learning from them, okay, you got a problem. But, I mean, guys are going to make mistakes, right? Especially when you're touching the puck that much and you're playing that much, playing those big minutes. Mistakes are going to happen, learn from them, and make less of them. And, goals are going to go in. Guys are going to get confidence. I think that's the biggest thing is the confidence.
And just think about the league they're playing in. Well, those guys are so good. You're going to make mistakes. Even the best of them make mistakes in that league.
Unreal.
I played for years. Mark Hanley has all the Tim Hortons. And there's 4 or 5 of my university buddies have Tim Horton stores, and they would go in this hockey tournament every year for Baycrest Hospital, which is an Alzheimer's facility. And it was a minimum of $25,000 to put a team in. And you'd go to a big draft the night before, and you'd draft Wendell Clark or Daryl Sittler or Denny Savard, or like just tons and tons of names there, right? Well, those guys, of course, they're playing against a bunch of old scrubs like us, so they're not burying you with their talent, but you just watch how they're able to move, how they turn on a dime, is really something to watch. I mean, you see the pro game in them.
Yeah. Big time.
Those the guys that I play with that are really, really good hockey players, but weren't pro hockey players.
Yeah.
They don't have that, right? You watch these ex-NHLers, and they do so much with very little effort.
Chris Newberry snapshot. just thought I'd toss that in there. Well, it's funny you say that because obviously we run tournaments and events, and we do have something that we're actually in the middle of starting to plan here. This might be similar to that because we went and checked out Lindros had a tournament very, very similar to what you just described. What was it last week? Brendan and I went out and
Novembrance Day. Yeah,
Novembrance Day. So just over a week ago, but. What did he have? LeClaire there, and Ray Bork was there, and a lot of them are older guys, but still fun to watch. And Wendell was there, and fun to watch them play. And you can see just some of the skill. And even though they're 50 or however old now, I still enjoy it. Right? Like you can tell the skills there. I mean, everybody's probably put on a 50 pounds since they played their playing days. But
I think the story was with Ray Bork was there, and he said I think this is the second time he skated since COVID. And you could tell, like, he would pick up the puck in the blue line and you'd tell, like, I got no one to pass to. He was playing with Steve Dangle. I don't know if you know who Steve Dangle is.
Oh, yeah.
He's the worst hockey player you've ever seen in your life. Like, he cannot skate at all. Like, it is horrible. So, like, he'd go up the wall and be like, I'm going to pass Steve Dangle. Like, nope, negative. And Ray Bork would just pretty much go end to end every shift, and he'd take maybe 2 strides from the red line into the goal, and then he wouldn't take another stride, and he'd go all the way back and change. Like, he's just such an amazing skater. Like, it doesn't go away. You can tell who's a pro and who isn't, and Steve Dangle is not a pro. I'll tell you that.
So Mark Hanley tells me a story. Mark Hanley played for Cornwall.
Okay, yeah.
Cornwall was in the queue, and who did
the Crawfords played there too, didn't they? Did Mark and Louis maybe play there? I think. Or?
Bobby, Mark, and Louis might have been there for 1 year, but Louis won his Memorial Cup in Kitchener.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Mark won 2 in Cornwall, and I don't know. I don't think Bobby might have won 1. I don't think so though. But anyway, I think Bork played for Verdun.
Okay.
And Mark Hanley tells a story about Cornwall having a 5-on-3, and Ray Bork getting the puck and skating with it for 2 minutes.
No way.
Yeah, 2 full minutes.
Just that much skill, eh? Just unbelievable.
Nobody could take the puck from him. And I think Doug Carpenter might have been the coach of Cornwall then. Doug would tap somebody on the back and go, and he'd go, no fucking way. I'm not going out there to get humiliated.
Holy jumpins. Yeah, that guy had something special. And it was really cool when he went to Colorado and finally got that Stanley Cup. I thought that was pretty awesome. And when he got handed the cup before Sakic even raised it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was cool. Like, guys have always, they raise it and then they hand it off. Sakic didn't even raise it. I think he just right away, here you go.
Right to his chest and then
just I thought that was I thought that one will always stick out in one of my favorite Stanley Cup memories as far as the celebrations go.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
I liked when Crawford brought that Colorado Stanley Cup to Belleville.
Yep.
We had a lot of fun with that.
Oh, I bet you did. I remember being at the memorial. That's where they had the fans where you could go meet them and get photos, right?
Yeah. And then then they had a party over on Pete's Point. Mark's sister really? Danielle and Tim Yon lived over there.
Okay.
They had a big party over there, and I've got a great shot blown up of Mark and I stand with the Stanley Cup, and Cameron wasn't even a year old, and Cameron sitting right in it before the Phil White Gloves there came and chased him out of it. I can tell you a funny story about the Stanley Cup with Army.
With Shazi probably, I'm guessing.
It was the first year that Andrew won the cup.
Yep.
So that it comes over to Roblin Lake, and I'm over there with them taking pictures and whatever. So Andrew promised Army that he could parade the cup around, take Andrew around on his pontoon boat. Andrew didn't have a pontoon boat yet. So we all get on this pontoon boat, and there's too many people on it. And anyway, we're puttering out on Roblin Lake, and the guy from the Hall of Fame, he's really uptight about how many people are on this boat. He can't swim. And he looks at Army and says, if this cup goes in the water, that's it for the day, so I would drive carefully. Army goes, yeah. Army was hammered.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine him.
Army goes,
I heard he had a family reunion or something that day, didn't he?
He might have, but anyway, Andrew's at the front with the cup, and Army gets all excited and runs up to the front with a boat less, tips, and the water starts flowing over. Well, the guy blows a gasket, and now Army's a little bit embarrassed because the guy's giving him shit. And Army looks at him and leans over and whispers to him, I'm right beside him. He goes, I thought you couldn't swim. The guy goes, I can't. Army says, well, you're in no fucking position to be threatening me, are you?
I love it. What a number. That's Army to a T, though.
Yeah, that was a great boat ride.
I love that. That's a great story.
Yeah, that's a great Alfredson sweater you got there.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Hall of Fame. What do you think?
Hey, a guy from Belleville is the team dentist for Ottawa.
Oh, yeah? Who's that?
And his name's Bill Henry.
Huh.
And Bill won a national title at the University of Guelph, I think in 1974 as a basketball player. Went on to dentistry school afterwards, and now he's the Senator's dentist. I think he had a horse ranch out in Canada, and I think Kyle Turris lived in the horse barn above it. He had a really cool flat up there. So Bill's up there playing ping pong with him, and of course Kyle just mops floor with Bill, which pisses Bill off because he thinks he's a good ping pong player. And he says, "Who's the best?" And player, and Turris says, "Right or left-handed?" Bill says, "Right." And he goes, "Alfredson." Bill goes, "Really?" And he goes, "Who's best left?" "Alfredson." Nobody could beat him with either hand.
So you can play either hand.
So his younger brother John would have been a teammate of your dad's on all those fastball teams.
Okay.
John Henry, yeah. That's how I know
him. Huh. Yeah, some of those. It's funny you look at like a lot of guys that NHLers and athletes. They can switch from one sport to the next day, and they pick it up like that, right? Like hockey player, all of a sudden the hand-eye kind of thing. I think that's part of it. Is a
lot of them are good golfers.
Golf too. There's the same thing, right? To have that little touch.
I lived 2 years up in Rouyn-Noranda.
Yeah.
And there is a shit ton of NHL players from there. Just a ton. I think the three rinks there, they have the Davy Keon, the Jacques Laperriere, and the Réjean Houle rink. And then there's the Turgeons are from there, and Red Light Rascal. The list goes on and on and on.
Holy.
From up there. But all the kids were left-handed golfers because one of the Bordelots, JP Bordelot or somebody, apparently taught all the kids to golf, and he was a lefty. He made them all play left-handed.
Oh, really? Because that's so rare in golf, right? Especially from years ago. Like it was, even still some of my friends, one guy I golf with all the time, he's a lefty at hockey, but he golfs right. I don't know. That's just the way it was growing up, I guess.
You know Dave Quickard?
Dave Quickard? I know who it is, but I don't know him personally.
Dave Quickard will stand in a par 3 and hit an 8-iron onto the green, and then grab Sean McKinney's left-handed 8-iron and hit it onto the green.
Oh, yeah, you can do both, eh?
Either hand.
One of those skills. See, for me, it's one way or the other. I don't know. Yeah. What about you, Flem? You're a baseball guy. Can you switch hit? Can you?
Yeah, so I can't switch it, but I write with my right hand, and then I do pretty much everything else my left hand. Like I throw with my left hand for baseball,
right,
left-handed in hockey. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's a story where I think my mom I think I was right-handed at one point when I was really young. My mom bought me the wrong-handed baseball glove. And I think for 6 months, I just used the wrong hand, and they became like a lefty at some point.
Bill's like, we're not taking that back. We're not buying another one.
Bill's like, you see the cut on that throw now? He's like, he's a lefty now. That's all it is. So, so that's how it. Yeah. So no, I write with my right hand for as long as I can remember, and yeah, everything else pretty much left.
Well, gentlemen, I'm going to have to pull the pin on you.
No, this has been awesome, buddy. Awesome.
I really enjoyed it.
Can I just ask you one last question?
Sure.
Now I know you've golfed in a bunch of places from all the pictures and everything I've seen on Facebook. What's one or two best places you've golfed?
Pinehurst.
Pinehurst. Now where's that?
Pinehurst is North Carolina. Few hour drive from Myrtle Beach, but that's where Payne Stewart beat Phil Mickelson for the U.S. Open, and there's a statue of him there, and it's probably not the best golf course, but it is just fantastic. And the other one that I really like is in Akron, Ohio.
Okay.
Is Firestone.
Oh, I think I've heard of that one. That one sounds
it's wicked. It is tough and it's fun to play.
Now there was a photo of you. I think it was like Banff or something. That course looked gorgeous. If that was
they were nice courses. You'd have to play them more than once to
know where to go, I guess, right?
They're just fun, right? And we played the Banff Springs, which is a lot of money, but you're paying for the mountains.
Yeah, true enough. Yeah.
So listen, guys, I really do have to pull a pin here.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks a lot for coming on. We really appreciate it. That was
Thanks
awesome.
for having me, guys. I really enjoyed it.
Take care. Thanks, buddy.
See you later.